Skill Labs. So myself, Mahesh Shetty, who basically takes care of the training part from the Skill Labs, and I come from 15 years of IT experience, and basically into infrastructure management services. Okay. And Skill Labs basically, a cloud solution providers, and we also do cloud related trainings, corporate trainings, and online trainings. So since we believe that the learning is a continuous process in today's world, and since the technology is changing very rapidly, and we as an IT professional have to be upgraded constantly to stay relevant and for the better opportunities, right? And since the job market is very good with the cloud technologies, right? So we have to be relevant with the required knowledge. So let me quickly, introduce Sohail Adnan, who is basically, our instructor, and he's basically a cloud genius, and he possesses 10 plus years of rich experience in IT infrastructure domain. Okay, and he also works with one of the top leader of a cloud company. Sohail, over to you.
Uh, Thank you, Mahesh, for the warm introduction, and thank you for guys for joining this late. I'm hoping that you guys have already done some amount of research on AWS. But if you have any questions, please park your questions while the demo is happening. And at the end of the session, we will take all your questions, right? To quickly begin with, I'm assuming that most of you who are here are looking for new opportunities in their job, and also trying to see what are the relevant technologies that can support from the existing technology that you work into, right? For example, you come from an IT infrastructure background, therefore you want to move into cloud, or you come from a networking background, or security, or a storage, or identity access management that we're looking at, right? So, irrespective of any domain that you are currently working into, AWS is relevant for you in terms of moving into your next step of your career, right? So let's quickly understand. I'm getting a lot of questions on the chat. Guys, continue to post your questions. We will answer all your questions. Um, and let's start from the certification because it is very important to understand some of the certification structure that AWS has to offer today. And these certification structures will fall into various experience categories. So let's understand the certification structure first and then move into several aspects of this demo today, right? So if you could see, Madhu says that there is no audio. Can you help Madhu out, Mahesh, while we are doing this demo, right? From the certification perspective, you could see that there are three certification tracks that exist today. The first is foundational. If you want to get into AWS, but you just want to know what is cloud, nothing significant at a very high level, you need to understand how cloud works. If you're setting up practice in your organization, right? Typically, you'll focus on foundation training and become a cloud practitioner, work on some of the new technologies that has been emerging onto the cloud and understand them. From a pre-sales and the solutioning perspective, this is a great certification. But that is an optional certification that is available through AWS. So we don't have to completely focus on this, or this is not a prerequisite for us. But however, if you're an organization and if you think that these are the certification tracks that you want to take, perhaps you can focus on these tracks that are available here, right? These tracks over here. So these are the different tracks that you have from a different technology perspective that you could focus here, right? But however, most of you want to look for a job, and instead of setting up a practice, you want to skill yourself and groom yourself and take that position, right? So someone who has less than 8 years of experience, right? 0 to 2, 2 to 4, or 4 to 6 years of experience that we're looking at. Typically, they would focus on this technology here, this certification track called SysOps Administrator. which is also a prerequisite for you to move into DevOps, that is here, right? So these are the various certification tracks that are available here. So less than 8 years of experience can move into SysOps first, and then move into DevOps, right? But if we have audience where who has 8+ years of IT experience, then you should be predominantly focusing at solutioning, pre-sales, consulting. So you can start your career with AWS certified solution architect, which is also a prerequisite for you to move into the professional track that is available here, right? So from a training perspective, how does our training is skilled around or syllabus are put around these four certification tracks? Now, from a training perspective, what we have done is we have taken SysOps Administrator, which is this over here. Let me change the color. So what we have done is we have focused this and we have included this, and we have also included this. The reason why we have clubbed this two together is if you do this training separately, most of the contents are overlapping. But from a job perspective, if you're looking for a DevOps job in AWS cloud, this will help you out in terms of moving to DevOps areas if you're from a programming background or if you're from an operational background, right? But typically, someone who has 8+ of experience would definitely do not want to do a SysOps role, want to get into predominantly defining and delivering the solution to a customer. So what we have done is this training will also cover architect and architect professional, right? We have taken these four modules and we have merged it together and we have made one single syllabus. However, it is not significantly different than the individual track that you have there. One. Second thing is we have not changed anything so that it can affect your certification, because at the end of the day, the training is focused towards certification, and after this training is completed, each one of you can apply for a certification and write an exam, right? So from that perspective, we have clubbed all four syllabus here, but you can individually pick up the certification track that you want to focus at, right? Now, the second problem that we are trying to solve right now is any job description that you see in the market today, they expect you to know cloud. If you know cloud, the expectation is you should know DevOps also. If you come from a DevOps background, then the expectation is you should know cloud also, right? And therefore, it has become a criteria there in the market that whether you're getting into a product development company or you're getting into IT services company, the expectation is that you should be best of both worlds, and therefore having a knowledge of cloud and DevOps will give you those opportunities that typically other candidates miss, right? So therefore, to quickly summarize from a certification perspective, there are four certification tracks. One is this Ops, then DevOps, or Architect Associate and Architect Professional. Someone who has less than 8 years of experience will take up the SysOps track, and 8+ will take up the Architect Associate track. But from a training perspective, you will be learning all four certification contents. All right. So let's proceed forward there. How can you get started? Uh, it is pretty simple. You can go to this website here. Go to this website, and it's www.amazon.com, aws.amazon.com/free, and you can register a free account here, right? You can go to this website, you can register an account for yourself, and you can get started. You can begin with your learning. But what is it that a skill lab has in today's agenda? What is it that we do differently? What is it that the internet does not teach you, or the content is not available on the internet? So let's focus on that, so that you can understand that irrespective of knowing the certification track and having a free account, there's still some of the hurdles that you have to overcome, and that is where skill labs would help you to learn those best practices to ensure that you can quickly learn the platform. So there are various well-defined architecture principles that exist today, but from an AWS perspective, there are five. So let's focus on each one of this. So the first well-defined architecture is operational excellence. Until last week, it was the last option that was available, and we could see it was coming soon. But in today's demo, they have moved it to the first option, and they have already published a white paper. So basically, what they are saying right now is anybody who is moving into cloud or anybody who is learning the cloud technology, right? So they have to play a significant role when you move into these technology that you're looking at right now, right? So one of us will come, or pretty much everybody in this group today are coming from some sort of an operational background, whether you're part of NOC, SOC, or RIM that we're looking at today, or it could be a product development that you come from. We are all part of some sort of an operation within our organization, right? So what Amazon is saying is by moving to my platform or by learning your skills onto my platform, you will not be domain specific, but you'll be platform dependent, right? What am I trying to articulate here is I would say that I'm coming from a network background. I saw a lot of messages on the chat that I am from a storage background. I come from Linux background, right? So we are tagging to a specific domain because we've been working in those technology area for quite some time. So I would call myself as a database engineer or a database lead, or I will call myself as a network engineer or a storage administrator, etc., right? Because we've been specifically working on these domain area, therefore we used to tag ourselves that way. But going forward, when you move into AWS as part of an operational excellence, you will be tagged to a platform where a portion of the work will be on network, some portion of the work will be on storage, some portion of the work will be on security, some will be on Linux, some will be on database, etc., that we are looking at, right? So by getting trained on AWS, you will end up replacing 5 roles in the market, and you will consume those 5 roles, and you will deliver these 5 roles through the AWS platform. So from an AWS platform perspective, there's no specific domain tag to it. Or basically, once you learn this technology, you will tag yourself as a platform guy, and therefore anything which comes within this platform is your baby, and therefore you'll continue to work around that piece, right? That is operational excellence. Now, second thing is that what Amazon has done is Amazon has done significant automation. There are a lot of services today, such as Active Directory, Exchange Server, Virtual Desktop, web applications, email services, and even database, right? So there is no administrative work exists today because all L1, L2, and L3 administrative roles are automated on cloud, right? However, the database developer role that exists, right? Who will do functional work, who will write tables, who will drop tables, work with schemas, etc., that we're looking at. From an Active Directory perspective, someone who's a functional guy who can write forest domain controllers, policies that we are looking at, right? So the functional jobs will continue to be relevant. However, the administrative work and technical jobs are all automated on AWS, right? That is the second part of an operational excellence. And most of these services, they have done portion of automation such as L1, and some services have moved into L2, right? So because of the nature of this automation, most of the work AWS, most of the heavy lifting work AWS does. But how this heavy lifting has to happen is where we need you as a platform engineers coming onto a platform and driving the system going forward, right? So by this way, you'll end up replacing 5, 6 roles, and thereby you'll end up replacing 5, 6 people's job in the market. Let's move into security. So if you see the security piece here, a lot of clients are now moving into cloud. We have seen banks have announced that they want to move into cloud. Government customers are moving into cloud. Cloud technology has matured so much that every industry that you're looking at, it could be a food supply chain or an airlines that we're looking at, or maybe an e-commerce platform, everyone are moving into cloud today. Because now they understand that cloud is secure, and there are different tools and services that are baked into cloud that will help us to secure that. But as I have previously told you before, it's a platform, it has all the capabilities, but it cannot operate itself. So we will teach you what are the security best practices that exist today, because one t-shirt cannot fit all. Therefore, you have to learn several best practices on how do I encrypt my volume, right? How do I build my VPN tunnel over my VPC? How can I isolate my network, right? How can I channelize my security group? Therefore, I can govern who can come in and who can go out, etc., that we're looking at, right? So there are several security best practices that you will learn, and everything that you see on this demo today is 40% theory and 60% practical, right? And therefore, we will spend significant amount of time working with tools and technologies and practicing them, because we believe that a live instructor demo training will always help you learn quicker than going through a theory, right? Where do we train you? What platform do we use it? We help you sign up an AWS free account that I have previously showed you here. So this is the account that I encourage each one of you to register before coming to a class, so that this is the account that we'll be using it, and we'll be doing the production ready environment deployment onto the cloud. And if something fails, it fails for real. We troubleshoot that. That's an additional learning, right? And the entire solution is based on real time, and therefore everything that you learn is real projects, right? So from a security perspective, I've explained you there are several best practices that we will try to cover from the security perspective here. How do you secure your volume? How do you encrypt it? How do you transit your data, right? From a VPC onwards to VPN, some of these practices that you will learn. So moving forward here, the third well-defined architecture is reliability. Uh, See, it is always nice that we go to office, and at least for some time we don't have to work, right? So every time that I go to office, I get a ticket and I have to action that. And every now and then I have some issue or the other that I'm focused at troubleshooting it, right? But what if I go to office and I don't get a ticket for that day? Isn't that amazing? That my infrastructure just works, there is no problem there, right? How do you design a reliable infrastructure? Or if you're working in a process right now where somebody has designed it, can you do a process improvement? Can you find out the single point of failures within the infrastructure which can be mitigated and therefore we can reduce the ticket count, right? Can I design a reliable infrastructure? If it fails, can it repair itself, right? Can I design an infrastructure which can scale across multiple availability zones over a load balancer, right? So can I design an infrastructure based on the unexpected traffic? Can it scale up from 2 servers to 200 servers? And when the traffic is not needed, it can roll back to 2 servers, right? So these are the reliable mechanisms that you will learn during this training. This will ensure you to design the most sophisticated and complex infrastructure within your organization. This will significantly help cut down people cost that is needed. Therefore, you have very small set of team to managing this infrastructure, and most of the problem, the infrastructure can heal itself. If one or two here and there, you can always dive in, right? So this is the best practices that we will teach from a reliability on how do you design a highly available infrastructure which can scale, which can self-heal, which can monitor and repair itself, right? So these are the areas that you will understand and learn in reliability classes. Performance efficiency, right? How efficient it is. We tend to hear a lot of ads on the TV, right, about the Maruti car, how long this car goes on a single liter of petrol. So can it give more mileage? So typically, can I have a very efficient infrastructure where I don't over provision or under provision, but absolutely what is needed there, right? Nothing like it. Can I bring in operational excellence with operational efficiency here and performance efficiency? And can I significantly save customer cost? Can I reuse some of the customer licenses here, right? Can I do something very different in order to ensure that my operations are linearly working, and efficiency? I have to put far less efficiency into managing that, right? I gave you one ticketing example, right? If I have one or two ticket coming in, then I need a very small team. But if I have multiple tickets that are coming in every day, then I need a very large team to address that, right? So how do I design and build an efficient infrastructure on AWS? Take advantage of serverless models and service-oriented architectures that are available through AWS for our solutions. That is what we will learn from our performance efficiency class. All right, cost optimization, very critical. We all understand that any project that we work in today, 66% is a people cost. There are too many people to manage a small piece of infrastructure, right? For example, if I have a Windows operating system, then I would need one or two guys. But what if I bring new technology flavors? Apart from Windows, I have Linux, then you need to bring in Linux specialist. And if there's a database, you need to bring in database specialist. And if there's a virtualization storage that you're looking at, you bring in that specialist, and then network and other thing, right? So the more diverse technologies that you have within your project, you need so many different knowledgeable people to manage that. And therefore, from a traditional data center management perspective, the operational costs are way too high. The cost optimization has to happen. The cost optimization will happen through people cost as well as the data center software licensing and ISP costs. So all these costs have to be brought down. So you will learn some of the best tips and tricks on what are the things that you need to focus at, what are the corners that you could cut, and therefore you can bring the value to the customer, both in terms of having a very linear team, in terms of managing the customer environment, and also able to use some of the services such as reserve instances and spot requests to gain traction on the accounts. All right, guys. So these are the five well-defined architectures that we usually cover in the training, and therefore our training is different. Therefore, the contents that you find on YouTube or on the internet may not help you get started, but we will help you get started from a right direction. You will get the right tools to get your learning onboarded here. And before we continue, guys, as I have previously told you, it's a 40 hours of online training, and which is 40% theory and 60% practical. And in the practical, we will be using the AWS free tier account, right? Second thing is that this training is a combination of online and videos, and therefore, if you have missed a class for various reasons, we will record every class here. And in case if you have missed it, we will share those recordings with you. And therefore, if you have missed the class, you can go back and visit those recordings. And even in an event where you have attended the class, we'll still give you those videos so that you can go back, do your revision watching those videos, right? And in very extreme cases, typically if you miss the class and even after watching videos, if you still do not understand the topic, you can always join another batch in the revision, and you can join on the specific day of the class that you have missed, and we will cover you there also. So therefore, from a training perspective, we'll give you a revision if it is needed, and ensure that you get the quality training in terms of learning here, right? Now, after this, what happens? So during the training and after the training, we have addressed that. If you miss the class, we have also addressed that, right? So once the training is done, so what is next, right? How do you get started? Now you have knowledge, right? But somebody should reach you out for a job, or you should hunt for a job somewhere, right? So you have to take this knowledge. So typically, what happens is when you're investing on gold or land, you will see, okay, I would get a return on investment in next 5 years or 10 years or 15 years that we're looking at. But from a training perspective, when you're investing on technology or skill or learning yourself something new, the expectation is that you want return on investment tomorrow, right? You will not say, okay, I'll learn AWS and I'll look for a job next year. You usually want to get started now, and that is why you're learning new technology, so that, as Mahesh rightfully said at the beginning of the demo, being relevant, being current will always ensure that you will accelerate your learning pace and you'll accelerate in your career. But if you're sticking back with mundane technologies and legacy technologies, you'll be left behind, right? So what is it that we go extra mile and do? Let's discuss that. So if you guys have used google.com, so basically what happens is you go, you run a query, say iPhone or something, and it gives you a result on page one, 10 results on page one, then you have page two and then page three, right? And Google will also give you results on page 5, 10, and 15 as well, right? So typically what we do is, or at least what I do is, if I have a problem somewhere, I Google it with the problem, and the page one or two will give me that solution. Some blog or forum, I'll find my answer, right? Uh, um, but have you ever clicked on page 5 or page 10 or page 15 or 20? Mostly not, because the first three pages results are more than enough for us to get it going from there. So let's assume that you guys are all HR. You guys are all HR and working in some firm, and you're looking for an AWS resource like me. Let's say you're looking for me. Um, so what happens is you guys go to Naukri.com, Monster, or LinkedIn, any of the job portals that we have, and you run those keywords to understand, or you run those keywords to filter and understand right candidates for your organization, right? So someone who has an appropriate resume done, or a well done resume that he or she has, right? Those resumes will list up on page one, two, or three, and those guys will get a call. And if I have a pathetic resume that I have, and if I'm sitting on page 10, nobody would look at it, right? So after this training, what we do is, since the entire training is solution based, and we focus on real world problem, and we take a business case and we start working backwards from there, right? Since you're learning solution, you're building solution, we'll capture those solutions in your resume. And in the process, we will capture all the relevant keywords that are needed for you to get your resume indexed, right? So we'll help you out to prepare your resume, not that we'll give you a sample and say, prepare your resume. We'll sit and ensure that we get your right resume, personalized resume for you, each one of you. So once you have a efficient resume, when you upload it on any of the job portals, there are more higher chances of your resumes are getting in listed in page one, two, or three, and therefore you get more calls, right? So this is how we're tackling this problem. So let's tackle the second problem. So once you get a phone call, what is next? So you have to clear your interview, right? So today, if I talk to you about the technology that you're working in, I am sure you can talk to me for next 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes on the domain that you guys come from. You will have ample amount of data and content to talk about some of the work that you're doing. But when you learn something new, it becomes extremely difficult to crack an interview, because either you will not have technology experience, right? Or either you will not have content, or you run out of content when you're talking to the interviewer. So since this is a solution based training and we are writing solution in your project, the same solution you have to articulate to the panelist, whoever is taking your interview. The art of interview is, you have to tell them what work you have done, and therefore they can ask you questions, try to funnel down, take you to next and third level of depth to understand how depth work that you have done on AWS, right? Versus you don't have any content to talk about, and the panelists will definitely ask you certain questions for which you will not have answer to. So hence, what this training will give you is a content to talk about in the interview. You can talk about some of the projects that you have worked. You can talk about some of the issues that we had during building this project, and how did you troubleshoot and mitigate that, right? So this creates a share of confidence to the panelist, and this is how you clear your interview. And remember, guys, out of 10 questions the interviewer asks you, the expectation is you answer them 3, because you cannot answer all 10. Nobody's 100%. Neither you cannot answer all 5, because nobody's 50 when it comes to knowledge, right? All of us are in between 25 to 30 to 35% that we're looking at, right? So they understand that you're a fresher, or you have 6 months experience, or 1 year experience, or maybe 2 years experience on AWS apart from other IT experience that you have, right? And therefore they'll try to keep it very minimum. They'll ask you in the expectations, you answer them 3, and after you getting a job, they know that you will learn yourself and you'll become at least 40 or 50% there, right? And finally, so once you get a job, what is next? So you have to go and deliver. You have to work there, right? You have to build solutions, or you have to support the solutions that are existing built there. You have to help them mitigate problems there, right? So you have to ensure that there's a business continuity that is happening, right? So in order to solve those problems, since this is a solution-based training and there's so much of hands-on experience that we give you, you can go and deliver your work from day one, right? You don't have to assume that, okay, my senior will be there who's going to help me out, or I'll get on-job training, right? Or maybe I'll have my friend who's also an AWS genius who's going to come and help me out, right? So you don't have to be dependent or assume that there's going to be somebody who's going to come and help you out. You can be independent after this training and go and deliver your work from day one, right? So these are the things that we do after training to ensure that you get somewhere, you get placed, and you start working. So let me take you to a demo section, guys. So we have understood the certification tracks. We have also understood the way we do our training. We're aligned to AWS certification. Then we also understood how we help you out to get your jobs and get you more calls, right? Uh, so let's understand, can you learn AWS, how difficult or how easy it is? Let's try to focus that to this demo, right? So I'm going to quickly narrate you a story, what I'm going to do today, so that you guys can understand what to expect out of this demo. So one of my student, he has an aspiration of building an e-commerce platform. Those of you who doesn't know what is e-commerce, your Flipkart is an e-commerce, or your Myntra.com or Jabang that you hear on TVs, right? These are all the e-commerce platforms. These are all e-commerce retailer who have a digital website and they sell products online, right? So this one of my student came back and said, I wanted to start another e-commerce thing on a AWS. And I just looked at him and asked why, because there are far too many e-commerce providers already, and you can go and become a merchant and become a seller. So why do you want to compete, or why do you want to create this? And he said that my parents are from handicraft business. They do handmade saris and woolen stuff, etc., etc. Those are not available on online platforms. He want to bring them online and not want to clutter them with other products that are available. He wanted to give the unique experience, right? So it made a lot of sense. And to build an e-commerce as a company, you need to have a customer front end. You need to have a customer relationship management. You need to have HR portal because your employees will be working there. There should be a payment gateway. There's a courier guide, logistic management. They drop your products. Then there's an inventory management where you have a warehouse and you procure them, right? So there are a combination of multiple systems you need in order to run your full e-commerce platform, right? So he's taken one such direction in a right way of building that, and he's built an e-commerce platform that I wanted to show you as a demo and educate you that how easy it is and what sophisticated projects that you could build on AWS platform. So walk along with me, see my screen. I'll narrate you every stage that I go through, and let me know whether you guys can understand, and let me know whether it's difficult or easy to follow. So if you see right now, I'm in the Virginia region. I will quickly switch to Mumbai, right? I'm going to launch an instance right now. All right, so I'm going to launch an OpenCart application. So what I have done is I have chosen an Ubuntu operating system, which has MySQL database, and it also has the application pre-installed. And I have taken the image and I have kept it. And therefore, I am relaunching that image and the store configuration that we have previously done. And I'm moving into my second stage right now. And the screen that you see on your screen is called orchestration screen. So I'm going to go through the several orchestration screen where it's going to take my user input, and then at the end of the orchestration process, It's gonna sequence those automation workflows and build the entire solution on the fly, right? So on the second stage right now, it says choose your instance type. So basically it is asking, since I'm creating a virtual machine on AWS, it is asking how many CPU cores that are needed and what memory should I need for this application, right? So I'm not expecting any traffic. It is just a demo that I'm showing here. So I will stick with one core CPU and 1 GB RAM. So network I'm not going to cover today. It's just a demo, but when you join, I will explain you network in detail. Add storage, 10 GB is fine. I am going to tag my machines here. Um, Configure security group. I have pre-configured it, but those of you doesn't know what is security group, what I have done is I have opened certain ports that are needed for me to run this application, right? Some of the ports that I need to run this application is SSH port, which is port 22, so that I can take the root access. The second port is HTTP port, so that I can access this through a web browser. And I think I have also opened one HTTPS, but I don't think I can run this through HTTPS because I do not have a digital certificate here, right? Review, and I'm gonna quickly launch this machine. So if you could see here, my machine is starting right now, and it was pretty simple. With a couple of clicks, I could build the entire platform here. Pretty amazing. Let me quickly scroll down here a bit. Okay, so if you see here, this machine was created on December 8, 2017 at 9:36 PM. So this machine was created just now. And if you could see right now, it is initializing. Probably give it a second. I think this is ready. Let me try to access this. So I'm going to run this IP now. I'll paste this IP in the chat, and guys, feel free to go ahead and access this in your browser too. Maybe in your laptop. I've shared this in your chat. It is still initializing, guys. Just one more moment here. All right. So it took a little longer than usual, but these usually happens in live demos. So if you see right now, there's an open cut platform, and there are a lot of products that are available here. And we did not have a product, or I guess we still don't have the products for some of the categories that I was previously talking about, because as you know, on e-commerce, you look at the photo and you buy. So you really need to have an appealing pictures of the products that you typically make at home. So therefore, they were not available. Hence, what we did is we downloaded some of the pictures off of the internet, and we have uploaded here just to show it to you. How does a system would work like, right? So I'm sure I've given you the IP addresses, guys. I want you to access those IPs in your browser, and you can also access the system. The system is running live, right? So I'm just going to show you a typical shopping experience. So I see that there's a Mac product. I'm going to select this product, and it says $122. Just ignore it. These are all vague prices that we have updated just to see how a system would function. So I will add this product to the cart like any other shopping experience. It says I have the product in the cart. I will say checkout. So basically it's throwing me an error that I do not have an SSL certificate. So I've ignored it, and I'm going to check out as guest. Continue. And if you see here, I have the billing information. I can fill in billing information. I can plug in my card details. I can choose my delivery method, and I can get the product. So this is a fully functional e-commerce platform that is running here. Let me also give you a tour of the backend. How does a backend would look like? All right. So if you see, this is how my backend would look like. Obviously, there's no people online. I'm not sure whether you guys were able to access those IP addresses. But if I go to my category section, if I see my products, these are the images that I downloaded off of the internet and I've uploaded it. So I have a full backend also to manage my categories on the portal, right? So this is one step that he's taken. There are a lot of other things that he needs in order to put this together. So he and his team is working right now. So these kind of a solution-based training that we train you here, this will give us a sheer confidence of going and delivering a job from day one. You can also clear an interview and you can also effectively capture these details in your resume to get your job, right? So guys, this concludes the demo overall. If anybody have a question, we can start the Q&A session now.